Good afternoon, everyone. If I can ask you to take your seats, that would be fantastic. We have enough seats? So, ladies and gentlemen, may I ask you to take your seats? We are about to start the afternoon session. I do recognize that the Secretary General has less authority than the President, but still. So, first of all, let me thank you all for being here. For the information of Commissioner Kubilius, I recognize that we have even more people in the room for the defense conversation this afternoon, which really is a tribute to the importance of this conversation. I'm especially grateful to Commissioner Kubilius for joining us today and for leading our discussion on defense with the introductory remark before joining a panel and continuing the conversation with the President and the Vice Chair and Nicolas Delaparte in a minute. But I would maybe open by saying that we are very thankful for you taking a lot of time to be with us today. You've been a wonderful partner for ASD since you joined the Commission, and we certainly intend that to continue. And without further ado, let me give you the floor for opening remarks, and then we'll go straight to the panel. Commissioner.
Well, good afternoon to everybody, and I maybe will start saying that it's such a big pleasure to be again back with your community and ASD, and really, I'm very happy to see so many leaders of Europe's aerospace, security, and defense industry, because we live really in historical times. As you know from my previous speeches, I found inspiration in history. And I know that many of you will start to think again he will speak about Jean Monnet. I could talk about Jean Monnet forever, but this time, don't worry. I will not do that today. And but really, I would recommend, if you are looking for holiday reading before Christmas, I have found the perfect book for industry leaders. A book about wartime industry leaders by Arthur Herman called Freedom's Forge. This book tells the story of the great American captains of industry who ramped up production and won the Second World War. When the war started, Roosevelt did not want a bureaucrat, like me, to run the Office of Production Management. He wanted a factory man. And William Knudsen, former president of General Motors, was chosen. Knudsen introduced the assembly line to aircraft production, ramping up production from a few thousand before the war to tens of thousands of aircraft a year. And here was Henry Kaiser, the construction magnate who built the Hoover Dam. You know Hoover Dam, big one. He cut production time of Liberty ships, the cargo ships that supplied wartime Britain, from 253 days, the record was 5 days, faster than U-boats could sink them. And I said before, victory in 1945 was not only a victory of armies, it was above all a victory of factories. The Allies won the production war, and that is why they won the real war. And that makes Kaiser and Knudsen the men who won the Second World War. And I'm proud to be here today with you, because today the Kaiser and Knudsen of Europe, the factory men and women who will win our production war, they are in this room today. So thanks a lot for you. And you will recognize the many similarities between us now and the United States at the beginning of the war. First, the massive potential of a democracy at arms. The power to mobilize the productive power of an entire continent into an unstoppable force, able to defeat and so to deter any adversary. But at the same time, many similar obstacles. The lack of agency at first, before Pearl Harbor. We can recognize ourselves. The need for big capital and big orders. Peacetime rules, important in peacetime, but not suitable for defense readiness production, let alone wartime production. And big need for skilled staff, supply chain problems. For them, steel and machine tools. For us, rare earths, critical raw materials, and electronic components, among others. But there are also very big differences. Knudsen and Kaiser faced one state. You have to deal with not one state, but 27 member states. Your challenges are much bigger. Your challenges are magnified 27 times. Division is our greatest weakness. Fragmentation is our greatest obstacle. And unity is our path to victory. Overcoming these challenges and obstacles has been my mission as Commissioner for the last year. This week, and even maybe today, is exactly a year to the date I started as Commissioner. A good moment to look at the path we have taken and the long and difficult journey that is still ahead of us to achieve defense readiness. I had many meetings with you over the last year, many discussions. I have listened a lot and learned a lot. I have gotten to know you and your industries, and I know what you are capable of. I know what you can do. And now it's time for us together to deliver. In the last year, we have created what I call the opportunities for defense readiness. Just remember where we were 1 year ago. 1 year ago, there was no clear strategy and there was no money. There was uncertainty, what will Donald do? And we soon decided that this is the wrong question, because the right question is, what will Europe do? So first came our strategy, ReArm Europe, the white paper on defense readiness. And then came the money. Last year when we started, I said we need a big bang in defense. And we have created a real financial big bang. Fiscal flexibility for defense through the National Escape Clause, the 150 billion in safe loans for defense, which are coming to the final stage of implementation. Yesterday, I informed ministers, all 19 national investment plans for safe loans have just came in. 15 member states will work with Ukraine, more than expected, and billions, not millions of euros will go to Ukraine through this instrument. I know that for you, SAFE is already making a difference. Member states are seeing you, they are finding you. In spring, during first quarter of next year, the money will start rolling in, and the orders will start coming in. Billions of euros in contracts. And I would say in record time, and that is what we can call demand shock. Production lines will need to start scaling up and speeding up. So it's time to get ready, and I know that you are getting ready for the big orders, ready to ramp up, and we will do what we can to support you. And we shall find the ways to guarantee that big orders will keep coming, not only until 2030, but also for the next long decades. We have proposed a five-fold increase of defense and space spending to up to 131 billion euros in the next multi-annual EU budget, what we call MFF. And last week, the European Space Agency ministerial meeting agreed to a historic 22 billion for space until next several years. But above all, at the June summit in The Hague, member states and NATO agreed to increase defense spending to 3.5% of GDP until 2035. And if the European Union members in NATO will spend what they pledged, we can estimate they will be spending 6.8 trillion euros on defense in the coming 10 years. National money is many times more than European money. If to compare what member states are going to spend, if they will fulfill their pledges, with what we shall have in our next MFF, the difference is 100 times. So member states' responsibility to invest into defense is very clear. But EU money can help us to be more efficient. That is what is most important in delivery. I know some of you may be thinking, why work together in Europe when most of the money is national? Why not just to go national? And I must be honest with you. I think that would be a big mistake for our defense. Let's remember Kaiser and let's remember Knudsen. If they had to deal with not one United States, but 50 separate United States, 50 different markets, 50 different armies, would America have won the war? I'm not so sure. We need now more unity, not less. You remember, many years ago, I graduated physics and I was working in physics. So as a physicist, I can tell very simply, we need centripetal forces to hold us together, not centrifugal forces that will scatter production in all directions. More fragmentation will undermine our defense readiness and our capability to deter aggression. Further fragmentation of our defense industry and market will make us weaker. Industry brings technologies and equipment. European Union can bring scale for industry to get stronger. But for that, we need to remove the barriers that fragment the defense market in Europe. We need to move from two narrow defense markets to a single, much larger and integrated one. Next year, we'll come with a strategy on the single market for defense and a proposal for a revision of the Defense Procurement Directive to defragment, to simplify, to unify. Alone, we cannot stand up against Russia. Russia spends much more on defense than even our biggest member states, like France and Germany. And Russia spends 5 times more on defense than the frontline member states. But together we can outspend and outproduce and outgun Russia, and so to deter Russia. We must work as a team. The division of labor is clear. Member states lead and decide. Industry produces. European Union supports. In our roadmap on defense readiness, we translate our defense readiness agenda into clear timetables and indicators for collective delivery. First, by member states joining forces in capability coalitions to fill the massive capability gaps, with leading nations showing the way. Second, with joint flagship projects built by several member states. Projects to protect the eastern flank, to counter the drone danger, missile threat, and threats from space. Projects will be led by member states, built by industry, operated by armed forces and NATO, and supported by the European Union. This is where the European Union and Commission can help the most, supporting collaborative projects that no single member state can deliver. And here I stress our positive experience in the development of very successful, collaborative, pan-European projects in space. IRIS-2 for secure satellite communications, which will end our dependence on American Starlink. Galileo for navigation. Copernicus for observation. All those projects are the best in the world. No member state could build them alone, but together we have. And I hope we can be as successful in pan-European defense projects as we are in space. To counter fragmentation and bring more unity, we have put in place concrete measures to encourage joint development and joint production and joint procurement, we started with the European Defence Fund to incentivize collaborative defense research and development. Then there was a successful EDIP program for joint procurement. Next step, EDIP, which will soon be operational, European Defense Industry Program. EDIP puts a premium on cooperation and on joint procurement. The more member states buy together, build defense projects together, the more they can count on EU funds. And EDIP offers completely new tools for cooperation, like the structure of European armament program, or like the European defense projects of common interest, which can be especially helpful to develop collective flagship projects. EDIP is also our instrument to support industrial ramp-up, building on ASAP logic, our program to boost armor production, mobilizing funds to modernize and expand manufacturing capacities. EDIP opens a totally new chapter to integrate European Union and Ukrainian defense industry, to learn from Ukraine's battle-tested and highly innovative defense industry. So, as our defense industry will be ready to face Russia's battle-tested industry and production. Many small and bigger programs for integration are becoming operational. This way, we both support Ukraine and boost our defense readiness. EDIP addresses one of your biggest concerns. We're strengthening security of supply with the first European Union mechanism designed to ensure timely and reliable access to defense products and components during crisis. And by using the European Union budget to address bottlenecks in the supply chains, to help industry deliver on time and in the volumes our armed forces need, faster and bigger. And we will come with further policy tools to reduce our critical raw materials dependencies, which endangers the resilience of many economic sectors, and in particular our defense. I know that you hate red tape, and we hate. So we are cutting red tape. Besides fragmentation, a massive obstacle to production ramp-up. Yesterday, during Defense Ministers' Council, I urged ministers to quickly close negotiations on the Defense Readiness Omnibus, so we can quickly cut permit waiting times from 4 years, and in some cases happens now, down to 2 months. I am sure Knudsen and Kaiser would have warmly supported this omnibus. Many of you are doing great things in innovation with our support from the European Defence Fund. And with the recently approved Defence Industry Transformation Roadmap, we want to take innovation to the next level, to create not just a better tank or a better drone, but a defense industry that is linked from development to production, to testing to soldiers in the field, learning the lessons from Ukraine. And many of you are already moving in this direction. But not only defense industry needs to transform its industrial supply. Governments and militaries need to move in the same transformative direction on the demand side. That is why last Friday, we brought together smaller tech companies and militaries to set up the very first tech alliance between military and industry on drone and anti-drone technologies. On the same Friday, another historical event we made, the first ever industrial roundtable on drones and anti-drone systems, with companies big and small, new and old, from across the European Union and Ukraine, to ensure industry can deliver on the proposed flagships. In short, we have created in 1 year financial, political, and legal opportunities for defense readiness and for our long-term strategic autonomy. Now, really, it's time for delivery. We must remember, the defense industry is not an ordinary industry. Our defense industry is one of the most important defense capabilities, a resource for our defense, like military personnel or military mobility. The conclusion of Arthur Herman's book is very clear. For defense ramp-up, you don't need central planning. What you need is orders for production and finance. Then you can stand back and let things happen. In the last year, we have created the financial resources for orders. The orders will come. Member states are designing their plans to reach their capability targets. The Commission will continue to support, focusing on where we can bring added value. And now you can make things happen. One final and vital difference between Knudsen and Kaiser and ourselves is very clear. They were fighting a war. we are preventing a war. Success is all the more important. Our policy is production. Our purpose is peace. Thanks a lot.